Who's Rain Dog? What's Rain Dog from? They would definitely be better off. Not even a doubt they'd be better off doing their own thing. For some reason, they just don't want to. I have pre-registered. Yay! I have my character now. Some aspects they went... So, like, from what I understand, because Katie and I both follow Warner Brothers pretty closely, considering we're big DC fans. And apparently, a lot of their internal stuff and like what's been going on is just, it's constant just people making just bad decisions at the top, but like it kind of has this weird cancerous sort of thread that goes almost throughout the entire company, but there's also so many sections that are split off from each other. And one hand, like a lot of companies, one hand is not really paying attention to what the other hand does. And before you say like, oh, every company does that, there's actually there's a handful of companies, big ones, that don't do that. And I think you can look at some of the more #evil companies, like Disney, and be like, yo, they have a very dictator-like design program, but at the same time, like, that's kind of, it's what you need. You need one vision. If you don't have one vision, things just start to fall apart. You saw me on a commercial. I don't remember what it's about, though. On Twitch? Was it Extra Life? Saw me in a commercial. I don't remember. What would I be on? I've done a few, but I don't know what's playing anymore. David Zaslav is going to cut WB? What do you mean by cut it? Like get rid of it? That's never gonna happen. I haven't played this game in a while. I've been playing TD5 recently. I don't even know who's David Zaslav. Oh, interesting. Okay. The new CEO of... Why would he cut it, though? What was that? What do you mean by cut it? I need more explanation of what that means. What's up, Koopsta? How you doing? I don't know what that means. Oh, explosions. Let's go. We need to get big guy out here. Hello, Phone Show 8000. Well, the old CEO was pretty bad, so we'll see. I don't know. The whole DC universe is kind of in shambles, so I'm hoping that we take like 10 years, or maybe even 5 years, just to kind of reset everything. Because as much as, well, we have Aquaman coming out, right? And as much as I'd love to continue the universe, actually they are, aren't they? Yeah, that's right. We have Aquaman coming, we have The Flash coming, and then we have Black Adam coming. Yeah. As much as I'm excited for all three of those characters, I don't think they're going to be very good, unfortunately. He wants to reset the DC? Oh, he should. Reset and cut are, like, not the same thing, though. He should. Everything should be reset. I think he should take some time to do that. It shouldn't be immediately reset. But yeah, it's in shambles because, again, too many people doing the same thing or don't know what they're doing that it's causing a lot of problems. There's a whole bunch of inconsistency between who's telling what story and what's going on, and apparently Jason Lin or whatever his name is left the Aquaman set and never came back. So who knows what's going on with that?
The spirits of the forest awaken.
The spirits have awakened. Alright, now then we put this guy next to him. Do 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 do. Yeah, yep. Can put him here, I guess. Yeah, DC needs a reset. And they need to not do things like Marvel. That's like everything they do that's wrong is because they're trying to copy Marvel. First of all, I don't think Marvel does things in a way that is intriguing or necessary or even really that good all the time. The thing is, they do it consistently. That's been the main issue. I mean, it's the same thing goes with streaming. Same thing goes with streaming. Most streamers that make it to the top echelon are consistent, good, like I should say well connected, and every now and then they're funny, right? That's really what it takes. If you have all three of those things, you're gonna be pretty set. If you have 2 out of 3 of those things, you're gonna be okay, but having all 3 is such a big connection. That's pretty much what Disney and Marvel have because, well, Disney has come to own everything. Consistent viewer retention? Well, I mean, yeah, Aquaman is one of the highest selling movies of comic book history, right? No, they obviously have that, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like comic book stuff's not gonna go away. That's what I mean. You can take like a 5-year break of not releasing anything, and I think you can come back pretty strong. Right? Because, like, now you have the Batman that came out and it was its own thing. I guess, here's my point. You gotta stop doing universe stuff for a little bit. You can have individual things. And I think what they're gonna try to do is, with the Flash, create a flashpoint so that you can have these individual things. And you can make those happen. I think it'd be really, really interesting to just kind of split off and do whatever. But the moment you create instances where you can be inconsistent is the moment that things sort of fall apart. Oh, I love the new Batman. That might be, honestly, the Batman might be my favorite comic book movie of all time. It might be number 1. I love the Batman. But that's what I mean. As long as they don't tie that into a universe and just make it its own thing, I'm perfectly fine. You can do that for a while. You can do a universe eventually, but it doesn't have to be right now. And it definitely doesn't have to be until Marvel has fully pooped themselves, which they're kind of doing with She-Hulk. I just saw the trailer for She-Hulk. It doesn't look good. And I love She-Hulk. I think it could be good, but I don't think it's going to be. Hawkeye was okay. But the thing is with Marvel characters is Marvel characters don't have a whole lot of substance. And TV shows are where substance kind of flourishes. Movies is where you can get Marvel characters. Movies is where Marvel characters will shine because, well, like I said, they don't have a lot of substance, but they have enough to put into a 90-minute movie. The new Thor, I don't know. We'll see. People loved the last Thor. I thought it was okay. Then again, I'm biased on that realm because I hate everything they do that just slaps any of their original mythology in the face. But I do love Chris Hemsworth. Alright, so what are we doing with this? Let's do this, I guess? Yeah. We need to create a wall of fire. Says it was shit.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. People who think the new Batman was shit is, I would love to talk to, because I don't really understand what could be seen as bad. In most movies that I like, I can see why people would think it's bad. I don't know. I don't really understand. The Batman was, there was almost nothing wrong with it necessarily. Not in a big way. I can see like nitpicky, gripey things, but for the most part, the movie was well put together. It was well acted. It was really well acted. It did Batman what Batman does. Is bored? Okay, well that's you know, that sounds like a typical I don't like something so it must be bad. Maybe I don't want to talk to the person. not to be rude, but it's like when people don't like Inception because they didn't get it. It's like, well, you have all the right not to like it, but you shouldn't say it's bad just because you didn't get it. And I think a lot of people do that. It's bad because I didn't understand what's going on, but yet everybody else did, or at least most other people did. So just because you didn't get it doesn't mean it's bad. Dude, chat with you about it and respect you for it. Oh, for sure. I just automatically have disrespect for the person that says, "Oh, this is shit," because I thought it was boring. That's fine, and I would absolutely have a professional conversation with the person. But that is a typical person. That is a typical opinion of somebody that I have a problem with. You've seen this. You've seen this. Sinvicta and I go like this all the time. He'll just say something shit, and I'm just like, I guess I'd not talk to you about it anymore. That's just the end of the conversation, I guess. Same. It goes with a lot of people we talk about. Corey, the same thing. Felt too long. It was really long. I definitely could see people being upset with that and not liking that. I knew it was long. I expected it to be long. I saw it twice, and both times didn't really feel too long, so I don't agree with it, but I can see where people are coming from with it, I guess, because it's long. But that comes from a world of attention spans, and if you don't have the attention span, that's perfectly normal. It is long. It's 3 hours. I get people being tired of that. That happens a lot. Considering there's a lot of these movies are really long these days, but I'm of the mind that if you're not up for a long movie, it's probably best in your interest just to not see it. I mean, honestly, because I've edited movies before. I've edited not feature lengths, but like short films, and even when they tell you to stay under 15 minutes, it's so hard to fully tell your story, and you probably have so much cool footage that you gotta cut so much of it out. Because in my opinion, I think a lot of the Marvel movies are bad because of how much they cut out and the type of cuts that they make. Now, there is art in making a shorter film that is perfect on all its editing, but I don't think that's necessary for anything. You know what I'm saying? I think that you can get a lot of cool stuff done in 3 hours. Now, you can also make it really exhausting, but I think they did a really good job with how they did the Batman. I think they did a really good job with a lot of more long length movies. Yeah. The reason I don't like Marvel movies is the same reason most people like them. And I fully accepted that I'm out of the norm there. I don't hate on anybody that likes Marvel movies. I don't think they're wrong for liking them. There's a reason that I don't like Marvel movies for the most part, and that reason is mostly because for the same reason that people like them, which is they're consistent, meaning they're mostly the same. They go after the same audience, right? It's essentially why you cannot like a streamer that's highly respected. They're doing something very specific, right? They're going for the audience that they're going for, and they hit that audience. They know exactly what they're doing. That's Disney's MO, right? That's just what Disney does. So, take that ideal, put it into a world that already had millions and millions of fans, and you're good. The problem with what DC did was they tried to match Marvel, but they tried to match them without evolving as they did. So they tried to hit different parts of the evolution of the Marvel Universe within a much shorter span, which doesn't work, obviously. And then from what I understand about their internals is they like to rush things while they like to give people a lot of time, but they kind of set them up to fail by giving them short increments that they have to get stuff done in, which usually creates nothing but issues.
Sweet.
Marvel needs to explain how they can't explain the multiverse better than anything everywhere and all at once. Well, I don't know, man. I think them dabbling in the universe of multiverse is kind of gonna be their demise, because you're gonna have people that think exactly like you're thinking, and then you're gonna have people that if they do go through with what you're talking about, will be utterly confused. So you kind of, when you get into something this deep and something as complicated as something like that, you kind of just split your audience, which is... Marvel benefited from having a big fan base, giant stars, I don't understand that statement. So DC has always been the more popular franchise throughout all of everything. DC has always been #1 throughout comic books. They have a bigger fan base, and they had just as big of stars in that movie. So I don't think that's true at all. They have the tools, they just didn't. It's always the people at the top make decisions that are just not the right ones. Not the ones that fit into a world where the internet exists. I think so also another thing that has been reported from Warner Brothers is it's a bunch of old people at the top, and when in a world where the internet doesn't exist and people don't just share things and talk to each other all the time, you can develop these kind of inconsistencies and sort of understand and like have them still be understood throughout the world of cinematography or just the world of media. But when you have the internet and people can literally just point things out and it spreads like wildfire, well, you have to be more careful on certain aspects, and unfortunately those aspects are not the ones that they were careful on. Do I want this? Maybe? A24 has some good stuff. They have a new one out now, I think. Katie wanted to go see it. I don't know. I couldn't pinpoint what A24 has done. I'm sure I've seen it. I'm sure I if you told me this, and this, I would understand. But their name isn't recognizable in my brain right now. Yeah, see, those I guess that makes sense. So those are the movies that are well beloved by a smaller audience, and it pretty much seems like it's exactly what they want to do. Which is what I would do, honestly. I would not go after the audiences as big as Warner Brothers or Disney or Paramount and stuff like that. I wouldn't even try, because I wouldn't be happy with the stuff that I made for those audiences. I would absolutely make something that fits an audience much smaller. So that would make sense as to where they're going. But I would like, because of that, I would think that they'd want to stay right in that realm. Avengers type success? No, they haven't. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they have not had that success because of what their actions are. But they've had the audience. The audience exists. It's not like the audience was started because of movies.
Awesome.
Oh, I only have two wizards? Oh, interesting. Okay. So what would be the next step? Like I said, keep making great individual movies. Make more Batmans. Make more of the Batmans. And do it with more interesting characters. Because, like, as much as I didn't want the Batman again, I'm glad it happened because of how well they made it. But let's start doing that with more interesting characters. Because let's be honest. The reason they keep doing the Batman is because it's easy. Because Batman's fucking boring. Batman's boring as shit. Batman's this emo kid, or, you know, guy, orphan, with a bunch of money, who does cool Dark Knight shit. That's it. That's honestly it. Who makes it interesting? Let's look at who makes it interesting in the Batman. The Penguin was fucking cool. The main villain, I won't say. Well, the secondary main villain, I won't say who that is, was fucking cool. The Riddler was fucking cool. Catwoman was fucking cool. When you finally introduce Robins, those are fucking cool. But that's the thing, is like, we've already told those stories 100 times. Let's tell a bunch of other stories. Let's look at what they did with the new Snyder cut from Justice League. That shit was amazing. Introducing Darkseid the way they did, that's fucking cool. Darkseid is the shit. Darkseid would crumple Thanos in his pinky and flick him like a booger. That's the thing with the DC universe, is it is so pretend you know everything about the Marvel universe, right? Which a lot of people have a lot of knowledge about the Marvel universe. Pretend you know everything about the Marvel universe. Okay, now quintuple that, throw that in a blender, and then quintuple that again, and you have about half of the DC universe. It is that much bigger and more vast and more interesting and deeper and has all these cool things going for it. This is what was so sad about how Warner Brothers kind of handled all this, is they tried too hard to make it this big grandiose thing right away, like Marvel did. Marvel can do that because, well, they have less to work with. They have a lot to work with, but they have less to work with. Sensing a little bias? No, it's the truth. You have to remember, DC has been around way longer than Marvel, and they've had way more publications. They have had way more money put into their program. They've had way more just comics in general. Like, the physical volume of what DC has done versus Marvel is about tenfold. DC fought for number 1 and 2 throughout all of the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It wasn't until the end of the 80s, early 90s, where Marvel started rising from the bottom. And if you look at what happened, Marvel only started rising when they started copying DC. There's a reason for that, because they realized that your comics have to be interesting. They cannot just be, hey, look, cool superhero, right? And a lot of people saw that in, like, Superman, Batman. Sure, when you look at the surface, Superman and Batman are pretty much just cool guys doing cool things. Batman created its interest via the things around Batman, because let's be honest, he's not super. You can't really do much with him, right? You can't do a whole lot with this guy who just exists and has a bunch of money. But you can do things around him. You can do things around him, and you can make his own universe. You can make Gotham itself more interesting, which is exactly what they did. Spider-Man's the only real Marvel character to do that. And that's also why I love Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's really cool because they did that. The Hulk is one of my favorites, but for a pretty different reason. It's mostly because of how complex he is. I actually like the complexity of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. I think those are cool. But it's important to note that the reason a lot of this exists is because DC kind of went way more outside the box because they were kind of forced to. Marvel wasn't forced to for a very long time. So then they created a lot of these other characters that were far more interesting. Now, they didn't quite create something that was... They didn't allow a lot of these characters to thrive in the main spotlight. It's the reason they keep doing Batman over and over and over again. You know what they could do, but make it exactly the same and still exactly as interesting? They could do the Green Arrow, who's essentially funnier, non-emo, and just more interesting and fun to hang out with. Batman. He also has a crew full of interesting characters. He also has villains that thrive throughout the rest of the DC universe. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff there. You can do more teen stuff. You could go for the Spider-Man audience by going with somebody like the Blue Beetle. You can do Firestorm. You could do all these teenagers within all these realms. You can even go to small outside characters like Artemis and have Artemis be this ambiguous character. Hell, they did a really cool thing with Titans on the WB streaming app or whatever that was, and the story revolved around Raven. Raven was super interesting. Raven was fantastic. Wasn't Green Arrow working with Ra's al Ghul at some point? Only in the same fashion that Batman was, because Ra's al Ghul ran the League of Assassins, and both Green Arrow, who had trained with the League of Assassins and got to know them very well, then got involved with a version of Black Canary who was also part of the League of Assassins, until you went to the alternate universe, which was super awesome, where for the Black Canary became the superseded, actually I think pretty much defeated and killed Ra's al Ghul and became the leader of the League of Assassins, and then disbanded them after they saved all these other little girls around the world. And that was cool as shit. Black Canary is also a very cool character they can do some cool stuff with. I would love to see Blue Beetle though. Blue Beetle would actually make a really, really good teenager movie. Shazam was fantastic. As much as like as much as I know that's going to be involved into the DC universe soon, I was so happy to see its own little thing. Shazam was fantastic. Shazam is one of my favorite characters as well. Shazam, the only problem I have is I would love to see Shazam and Black Adam, even though I hate that The Rock is Black Adam. I think that's the stupidest thing in the world. Shazam and Black Adam and Superman come together and have them three fight or have a story together. That would be the shit. Because my favorite interactions in all of comic books, even though I love Green Arrow and Black Canary's interactions and their whole relationship and all their stuff, as much as I love that, my favorite interactions are between Superman and Shazam. Because Shazam is this kid who doesn't have parents. He's an orphan. And he runs in this guy that has basically the same powers he does, except he's well known. He's basically famous, right? Superman is famous, and if you watch the movie, you see that in that world, Batman and Superman are just these two celebrities, right? And Wonder Woman, and I guess that would be it as far as celebrity-wise. Wonder Woman's sort of secretive, so she's less of a celebrity, but Batman and Superman are definitely celebrities. So you take those, and you drop Shazam into that world, and you're like, hey, whoa, there's somebody I'm looking up to. There's this crazy ultra idol that we can see and hear about and all this stuff. And then, hey, wow, I have superpowers. I'm strong, I'm fast, I can fly. Am I like Superman? And then he meets Superman, and you remember he's a 14, 13-year-old kid or whatever. And he's like, whoa, can we like hang out, man? This is cool. And Superman's like, what? And so this is why I'm upset, is because Henry Cavill is by far the best Superman that I think will ever exist. And because he's no longer Superman, that ain't gonna happen. So, having them two interact with each other, and Henry Cavill doing his like awkward Geralt, trying to be kind of a father figure but not really knowing what he's doing, versus what's his name? Who plays Shazam? Something Levi. I don't know, his last name's Levi. Anyway, he plays Shazam. Him being as hilarious and as funny as he is, while also just having this quick wit and chops to him. While Henry Cavill also has his own chops in comedy acting. Putting them together in a movie with Wonder Woman and having this like trio that then all of a sudden gets dropped into this world where you have Black Adam, who basically just destroys all three of them, and they have to figure out the three strongest people that have ever been known to the world of this universe. Zachary Levi, thank you. Levi. And all of a sudden Black Adam just smashes the entire world, and they're like, what the hell's going on? And then in comes Green Lantern, which I would love to see a new Green Lantern. In comes the Green Lantern, who's like, I'm gonna help you guys, but also get my ass beat as well. And you have all these people coming together just to defeat Black Adam, until Black Adam's like, whoa, hold on, I just heard about this new dude. His name is Brainiac. He's actually trying to take over the world, and he's way more powerful than all of us. So let me help you out for a little bit, because there's also a guy named Lex Luthor who's really smart. I don't really like him. He's kind of a dick, but he's got a lot of money, and he's really, really smart, so we can do all these things. And it just pisses me off that Warner Brothers dropped the ball with this so hard that they have so much potential to do cool shit, man. If you want to see a really good DC Universe movie, go play both of the Injustice games or read the comics. They're both very good, and they do this very well. They show a different side of the Joker. A Joker who's actually kind of a good guy. They show Lex Luthor doing his best, because Lex Luthor is this... The reason Lex Luthor is so fun, and why Marvel will never touch anything like this, because it's too ambiguous, and you know, the normal Marvel fan probably won't get it. That's not a dig, it's just that's the audience. Is Lex Luthor is this villain, but he's so morally ambiguous and so only out for himself that if it benefited him, he's kind of the Loki if Loki was if Loki didn't have the first Avengers movie, I should say. Because the first Avengers movie and him being the bad guy should have been at the end of the Marvel Universe arc, not at the beginning. If that didn't happen, he'd be the Loki. Because even though he's just a dude, he's a guy that runs for mayor and runs for governor and is elected because people actually like him, and because he actually wants to like kind of change things for what he believes to be good. Most of the time is only self-serving, kind of how Loki is. And some of the time his self-serving attitude serves other people as well, which is why they get behind him. But he's evil because of how self-serving he is. Sometimes he just wants to, demolish an entire seaboard because he wants to create beachfront property that didn't exist there before. There's just... It's silly, but he's an interesting character in and of itself. And I actually really liked the dude that played him in I think it was Batman vs Superman. I think he's a really good actor, and I thought that was cool, because it looks nothing like how we saw Lex Luthor in the comics or the TV shows and stuff like that. But he still did really well. Well, see, here's what I'm talking about. Is Jeff Johns, who is DC's current leader. He's basically, who is that? Kevin Feige from Marvel. That's what Jeff Johns is. The difference between Jeff Johns and Kevin Feige is Jeff Johns wrote the comics for a very long time. Kevin Feige came in as the movie guy, even though he's supposedly this really big Marvel fan. I don't know. He probably is. He probably is this really big Marvel dude and what have you, but I think Jeff Johns writes a better script. The problem is, because Warner Brothers is Warner Brothers, they always take the good art and they rip it to shreds. They hire people to come in and do other things, and yeah. Anyway, I've had that DC conversation many times. I'm not one of the, so it's important to understand that I do not hate Marvel. I don't dislike Marvel. I don't dislike how successful Marvel is. I think that I hate how much DC feels or is obviously threatened by them. Because I'm like, you have 10 times more to work with, and you have about 2 or 3 times better stuff to work with. Yet you're trying to meet them at their level. It makes no sense. Why would you do this? Wait, do I have to pick one? This is not how this worked before. Oh, do I just go? Oh, this is the... Oh, I see. Okay, never mind. We're good. DC had that. There'd be no discussion who was better. Well, that's what I'm trying to put out there. DC and Marvel should have totally different audiences, again, because of the internet, people think that it's all just comic book audience, and I'm like, that's such a disrespectful way to look at comic book fans in general. Because if you go to a comic book shop and you actually sit there and listen to the nerds, right, the people like myself who talk about it, you'll listen to the fact that DC guys and gals will talk about how much they also love what Marvel things are doing. And then Marvel people will well, I will say there's a little bit of a bias here, but I've only really heard Marvel people talk shit about DC most of the time because they don't understand it. I'm not saying the average Marvel fan is a lower IQ than the average DC fan, but if you listen to some of them, it sort of sounds like that some of the time. It really does. Because you'll hear a lot more DC fans give credit where credit is due to Marvel creations, but you won't see the opposite. Which is sad, because there's obviously more going on in the DC world, and these DC fans are trying to give out an olive branch to a lot of these DC fans. Because Marvel fans. Because Marvel fans are they're diehard. They're absolutely diehard. And so are DC fans, but a little bit more intelligent to be able to handle doing that with. I would love to see the ultimate crossover and have it be nothing like the previous Marvel movies and nothing like the previous DC movies. And I would love to see them actually make this really cool. No matter what, you're gonna have people that are like, oh, this is good because of this, or this is bad because of this. And it's like, you're gonna have that, I understand that. But I think you can really sort of merge the waters a little bit by making that happen. You know? What else do I want in here? Do I want the bananas? I want the spikes. I kind of want the spikes. Let's do that. How much room do I... Oh, I have actually way more room. Do I want a gunner? Let's take a gunner. Let's take a flame dart boy. I think this will work. I don't need 2 bananas though. Let's take an engineer. I think this is good. Star Wars or Star Trek? I cannot decide. I can't. I'm both for very different reasons. I love Star Trek for Star Trek. I love Star Trek, but I dislike a lot of new Star Trek because it's not really the same anymore, and it's not why I like Star Trek. But I love Star Wars for a completely different reason. They're different. I don't even think they're in the same camp. Just because they have the word star in it, I don't think they should be in the same camp at all. I don't think that's fair. How come I only have a... Wow, that's crazy. The light of day and fully grown each year. I fully agree with that. The only reason that I am putting camps on them is mostly because of the fans, but secondarily, there is a style on each side. Not a major one, but there is a style. Marvel has this style, DC has this style. It's not completely the same on either side. I'm just saying that there is a style on both sides, and it's evident. But like I said, I like both for completely separate reasons. This is gonna be hard, I think. Oh, whoops. Hold on. Did I do that right? Yes. I think I'm going this one? Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is, I think they're different. I think if I were to have an intelligent conversation with a comic book fan, we would definitely not talk about how we're talking now. We would definitely talk about things in more of their nuance. And how different they actually are. But that's not necessarily who I'm talking to all the time. I don't cultivate a comic book audience here. I know because, well, we don't talk about comics that much. But there's a lot of cool stuff. Because I'll tell you right now, too, the Star Wars comics are freaking great. If you've never read Star Wars comics, especially Vader comics, there's some good reads there. Most people aren't comic book people anymore because it involves reading, and, well, let's be honest, most people don't read anymore. And I've thought about... It's not because they just can't or don't want to, it's mostly because it takes time and people don't really think to put that time aside, you know? But, I would... This is why I do video game lore videos, right? I do video game lore videos because I think lore is interesting. I think lore is important to feeling immersed within a game. It's also, there aren't as many comic book fans out there anymore. There are some, but they're very focused on certain comics. And if you at all touch them, you sort of develop... You're sort of asking for people to be hateful because, well, that's kind of the audience you're going after. There's a lot of... the people who will comment on your videos will more than likely be the ones who are there to fact-check every little detail, when most of the time, what I'm talking about is accurate, but I also theorize things and talk about how, hey, what if this happened? Oh, that's not going to happen because of this. It's like, well, it could, though. Right? And it's not to say that it shouldn't happen or we shouldn't talk about it. It's just to say that it'd be interesting. Yeah. I'm not asking you to, measure your dick on the table. That's not what that comment was about. It's a fact. It's not like, this isn't me calling people stupid. By saying people don't read anymore is not saying people are dumber. It really isn't. I think people take it that way. I think that has been the general consensus on what that means. I don't believe that's what that means. I believe that there are other things people are doing instead. Because it's like, why would I read when I can watch, all kinds of anime and movies and stuff with the same type of content? Or at least, if it's not as deep of content, I can watch more of it and feel like I'm getting as deep. And that's completely fair, in my opinion. Especially when you have so much stuff that is for free. And comics, unless you subscribe to one of their weird digital sites, you kind of, have to pay a lot of money to get all that content. Really grinds your gears. Well, that happens, and that is annoying. But that's usually, I found that not, I don't want to say 90, about like 60-70% of the time, it's because people either forget that the stream title might have pertinent information. Because let's be honest, most of the time it doesn't. Or people are new to the platform, or they don't even use the platform too much. They don't even realize that there is a title. They just see the game and the person. That's it. So I think it's like, while it is annoying, I try to understand it, Because, yeah. The amount of times I've seen titles that give zero information is pretty often. In fact, I don't have any information in my title right now. It's not like I need any information out there, but that is the majority of titles. The vibe I'm trying to put out is we just chilling today. On a pretty cool game. One of my favorite games. I love tower defense games, and I love Bloons. And I like the type of challenges they give on this game. It's really cool. Now, what are we doing? Ooh. Oh, we just need to save, I think. I think we save, we're good. Plus, this is a game that I think not many people have questions about, and we can just talk about comic books and stuff, That's fine. But I mean, I do agree. I do wish people would. Well, I wish people would take their time more. Because we live in a world now where everything feels like it needs to be rushed. We live in the post YOLO world, where it's like you only live once, you better live it up, or the post the world is ending type of world because the internet says it is. So we live in this universe where people can't really slow down, and people are all hyped up on G Fuel and coffee, right? Including, my tea. So people don't learn to slow down, and when they don't learn to slow down, that's when they don't read. That's when they don't look at the titles. That's when they don't, think for a second that other people might agree with them, even if they're trying to pick fights with them, or they think they're trying to pick fights with them. So I wish people would slow down. And if people slowed down, I think we'd be in a happier place. Hey Jeff, how you doing, man? Well, right. And your world's a little bit different too. So your world is kind of what, unfortunately, has perpetrated our current world. Not saying you did. I'm saying the world you live in, which is education. Because you have this overloading abundance of people, of kids who just are overwhelmed all the time. They're like, well, if I read everything that I need to read, I'm not going to have time to actually do it all. When in reality, the truth is usually that if you read the directions, you'll probably do it faster. But that's not the lesson that the world has taught these kids. The lesson the world have taught these kids is, by the time it's taken me 45 minutes to read everything, that's 45 minutes I could have been spending on the actual project. And then there's this weird overlap of too much time doing the prep, not having enough time to do the actual thing, when reality is they're commingling. Shit.
Those exits.
How do I...
Yes.
Wait, seriously?
All right.
I have nothing else that goes after camo? That sucks. Okay. Whatever, I guess. Yeah, and there's something to understand about that too. Some people do things out of reaction, even if they don't mean it. You know, some people will do things out of reaction because most of the time they will get rewarded for it, right? Like, hey, what are we doing? Most of the time they're gonna get an answer, right? You can blame your peer, your peers who are also teaching as well. They're mostly gonna get rewarded for doing stuff like that. But if you give them negative reinforcement, that usually doesn't help them either. It's usually, well, read the directions and we're good. Everything's right there. And as long as they make it understood that, hey, I can get everything I need right here by myself, then you start to develop that learning habit. That doesn't always work either, because again, it takes a tribe, right? It takes a village to raise a child. And that is more true than anything. It takes a society to raise a people. But if society believes one way, that's how they're going to get raised. Oh, did I upgrade into being able to see this now? Oh, that's good. Hey, okay, I was just too late at placing him. That's what happened. How's everyone? I'm doing well. Doing well, Jeff. Enjoying some Bloons. Talking about comic books. And societal reasoning. All kinds of stuff. If it wasn't like... there's gotta be a way... I think I could do it to get people into comics, or at least get people caught up with certain comics that will maybe encourage them into... encourage them to read further ones that they might want to know about. But the thing is, I would have to get a pretty good connection with a publisher, because I would love to I don't want to review comics, but I'd love to kind of recap certain comics, or at least certain weeks or months or what have you, and be like, this is what was interesting about this week. And if we, you can sort of delve into spoiler territory to actually keep things interesting and not give away everything, so that hopefully it would encourage people to check more out on what they find interesting. I think it'd be fun. What's up, Exiato? How are you? I think it'd be fun. It would take a lot of work on top of what I'm already working on every single day, but that would be a world I would be okay with doing for a while. The kid was a good kid. Was it due to like probably at-home behavior? Not getting enough attention. That's what I found to be like most kids' problem. Is they either don't get enough attention, or they're given so much attention that when they get to school they have to, either way they have to rebel in the opposite way, because it's both extremes.
history books.
Do love Captain Churchill. Or Settle Day. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things where you're like, yeah, this is just one of those kids that doesn't learn like all the other kids.
They are getting through.
Because let's be honest, learning like all the other kids is just an oxymoron. Nobody learns like everybody else.
Yes.
Do I even have any? Oh, I guess I do have some upgrades. Do I have? Oh. I have everything I have. Everything's upgraded here. What? Why am I still in balloons? Why? Must be the camo. Try 97 health, we should be fine. It turns into a Superman.
History books.
Nice. I mean, I wasn't even a hyperactive kid, and I had trouble sitting all day. I had trouble sitting all day without falling asleep. Because as much as I didn't have a problem sleeping until I got to like maybe my senior year of college, I still never felt like I slept well. I would get like 8 hours of sleep, but it never felt right, and I felt like I was always doing something. So like my stress levels were constantly high. All right.
Moab class Bloons inbound. Try exactly how to do
Clearly needed it. Yeah.
one for the history books.
Yeah, and when I got to high school, I had one AP class, and she was very understanding about certain things. Thankfully, well, I can't remember when was that class. It was either right before lunch or right after lunch. I want to say it was right after lunch. And considering being I think it was senior year, so we were like, older teens, or teens. And, we'd eat a lot of food, or at least try to, and then be tired afterwards. It's like the worst time to do math. But she understood when some of us were just exhausted.
That's one for the history prize. That's one for the history books.
We good? Alright, I'm at 32. I need 48.
Yes.
I could upgrade him like crazy too.
Try this. Try this.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No! Alright, we'll spend the money.
What next? Nice. Moab class Bloons inbound. That is how to do it. Try this. Help from above.
No!
Exits.
I don't know, man. These are too powerful, and they're camboed, and I have like nothing to combat them. I have two units out of 4.
Hey. What next? Hey.
I mean, I guess I can try to hold it. Let me see. I'm gonna spend $400 or more.
Yes, sir.
See what happens.
That's one for the history books. Careful from above.
Did we do it? Oh, wow. Dude, we're only at 62, though?
Find this.
I think it's only camo that's our problem, though. I think.
Find this.
Back to back in the auditorium? Damn. Hell yeah.
That's one for the history books.
Please?
They are
No! That did that much damage? Oh my god. That did so much damage.